Well, hello everybody and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for the lovely comments that you've been posting about my hi-fi system and my record cleaning methods. I really appreciate your input. It's been lovely to read some of the comments, very, very nice comments and very respectful comments. So that's been really good. And also some good recommendations as well in terms of records that I should be checking out. So the whole point of doing this YouTube channel for me is to share with you my experiences and also to learn about yours. So thanks very much for being so attentive, and it's been really enjoyable. Okay, since I did the last video, I've made one or two additional changes to my hi-fi system, which I'm not going to bother showing you because I can explain what they are. They're quite straightforward. I've recently decorated this room, as you can probably see, or you may or may not recognise. But the hi-fi system is behind me, as you can see. And because I was redecorating, I thought it was an ideal opportunity, maybe, to put a dedicated power line into to plug my hi-fi into. And I thought, well, why not? I had the electrician come in, he was doing one or two other jobs, and I said, is there any chance that you could put a direct line from my fuse box in the garage back into my listening room here so that I could have a dedicated line? And he said, yeah, no problem at all. So anyway, so cut a long story short, that's what I've done. To complicate things further though, so I can't really tell you what effect that's had, because I did something else at the same time. I know you should never do these things. You should never do two things at once, because you never know which change has made the biggest change. But I did do two things at once, which is stupid by now. But anyway, so I put a new power line in directly to a socket on the wall, so I can plug my hi-fi system completely into that without any interference, hopefully, from other things in the house, appliances, etc. But I've also swapped my high cap power supply that was powering my Superline phono stage. I've swapped it. I traded it in at Symbiosis in Leicestershire. They gave me a good price for it, and they gave me a really nice condition used super cap in its place. So now I've got a super cap which is powering the Superline and a super cap powering the preamp. So the difference that this is made, I couldn't tell you which element or whether it's both. It's an amazing difference. I mean, this hi-fi just sounds a completely different animal. It's got so much more detail, so much control, punch, dynamics, power, clarity, soundstage, you name it. All of those wonderful things that we like to talk about, they've all been enhanced with this improvement that I've made. So I'm really, really happy at the moment. Anyway, okay, so the purpose of this video today, really, it's not to tell you about my hi-fi, it's to give you a few recommendations of records that I love playing. Some records I've had bought only recently, others I've had for many, many years, and I love them to this day. I'm also going to show you a couple of records which I bought recently, which I really would not waste your money on. I just don't know how they recorded them, but it's terrible. Okay, so let me start off with a few records. There's a couple of records anyway that I've bought recently, which I just don't understand where they recorded them. And these are well-known artists, but they're very well-known artists, in fact. They must have recorded them in a little cupboard somewhere on a laptop. I don't know. But there is nothing with these two records that in any way inspires me to play them. The music is not bad, don't get me wrong. The problem is with these days that some of the music is really good, but the recordings are awful. So anyway, so these are two records which I do not recommend you buy if you want to hear music as it's supposed to be, because this is like rubbish in my view, but I don't know. Anyway, so this is the first one. Lana Del Rey, Chemtrails Over the Country Club. Now, I've tried a few Lana Del Rey albums in the past. They've never been recorded well, but she writes some good songs and she is quite talented. But this, it's so compressed, it's so dull, it's dreary, it's drab, it's got no excitement to it, it's got no dynamics, no contrast, it's awful. It's just such a shame, really, because she is talented and it could be a great album maybe, but it's not going to be a great album in my system. So I don't know what she's been playing about that with this, but it's not, in my view, I would steer clear of this. I just do not think, if you want to hear the sonic delights of a hi-fi system, don't put that on. Okay, right, so that's up one out of the way. This one's even more disappointing in many ways, because Robert Plant lives near where I live. He goes in the pub that I go to occasionally, and he will sing on the stage in there with bands. He's such a talented artist, but where they recorded this again, this has got nothing to it. It's got no dynamics, nothing of any interest. Even the music, it's not my bag really. Alison Krauss I've got a lot of time for. In case you can't read it, it's called Raising Sand, and it's Robert Plant and Alison Krauss. But again, another album which is very, very disappointing from a sonic point of view. So there you go, 2 duds. So 2 records to steer clear of, in my view, but obviously everybody's musical taste is different, and I do appreciate that. So let's go on to I'm going to show you 5 records, just 5 today, which I think you might find interesting enough to check them out. So let's look at let's fetch the 5 records that I'm going to show you. Okay, so here are some records which I really love and enjoy. I think they are, from a recording quality and mastering point of view, they're very, very well recorded and mastered, and they're superb albums. They give my system, when I put these records on, my system lights up, and I just cannot concentrate on anything else other than listening to the music. So the first one I'm going to talk about is this one. It's not everybody's taste. Eels. In case you haven't played or listened to any Eels music, they're quite interesting. They're quite well recorded. I wouldn't say this is like, out of 10, I've got a couple of albums that I've put 10 out of 10 on in my database, one of which is Dark Side of the Moon by Pink Floyd. But I'd give this 8. It's quite a rocky album. If you like guitars and stuff, it's really got a lot of going for it in terms of its sort of pace, and the guitar sounds are really nice, and it's got some good drumming. I mean, it's probably electronic drums, I fear, but even so, still quite good. I do like this album. Shootin' Nanny it's called. And I think some of the standout tracks on this album would be Saturday Morning is really good. They're all good. They're all good tracks. There is one other track which is really, really good on the side one called Agony. A bit depressing, but very emotional, very well recorded. You can't stop listening to this. Once you start playing it, I find that I have to concentrate and listen to every detail of it. So Eels, Shootin' Nanny. I can't tell you much other than the fact that it was recorded and mixed by Greg Collins. It was recorded at Ocean Wave Recording in the USA, and it's mastered by, guess who? Bernie Grundman. So that's a pretty good recommendation, isn't it? Bernie Grundman, mastered Eels, Shootin' Nanny. Yes. Very good. Highly recommended. Next one is an old record called by 10cc, and it's called Windows in the Jungle. 10cc Windows in the Jungle. This is almost certainly an analog recording all the way through. It's recorded at Strawberry Studios in Stockport in England. It was originally mastered by Ian Cooper at the Townhouse in London. The good thing about this album is the sound stage is superb. The dynamics are really, really good. It's a fabulous album. It's got saxophones on, keyboards, drums, guitars, but it's and also of course the harmonies that you get on 10cc records are always good anyway. So Windows in the Jungle, 10cc. Not expensive to find. You can find this record quite cheaply on Discogs. Highly recommended. In fact, it's very cheap on Discogs. I think this copy, which sounds amazing by the way, is probably valued at about £8 on Discogs. I don't understand how the value of records works on Discogs. But anyway, this is very easy to find. Get a copy. You need to get the first UK pressing, but that's quite easy to find. It's there at the top of the list on Discogs, and it's great. Definitely worth listening to. I love that album. Now, secondly, I'm going to stay in the past, and this is an album which may be a little bit too middle of the road for some of you, but it's the Carpenters' Close to You. Sorry, it's a song for you actually. Close to You is good as well, but this is a song for you by the Carpenters. This is a beautiful album. It was obviously Karen Carpenter's voice is exquisite. Sadly, she died a long time ago, but it's a record which has got some lovely melodies on it, some lovely songs, lots of lovely harmony, and it's just a great record to listen to. It's got beautiful vocals. It's a great record. I can't see on the back of here who it was recorded by or mastered by. Probably says inside. Let me just have a quick squint and see if I can see anything. No, they don't tell you actually, which is a shame. I wish all record manufacturers and producers would put more information on the records about how the records were produced. But anyway, it's a record that dates back to, again, I can't see the bloody date. I'm going to have to tell you the date now that I've said that. It's 1972. 1972. There you go. They made really good records in 1972, and this is one of them. Highly recommended. A Song for You, Carpenters. Okay, so we've got two more records, and these two, one is relatively old, and the other one is very, very pretty much up to date. So this one, Joe Jackson, Body and Soul. I think the interesting thing about this album is that it was recorded digitally. It was one of the first records back in 1984 to use some of the new digital recording equipment. And it was recorded in a church, I think in New York or somewhere. Can't quite remember the detail of this. There's a lot of reading on the back of it if you want to read it at any time. It's very interesting. But it's Joe Jackson, Body and Soul. The number of the record is AMLX 65000. You must make sure you get one of the first copies if you can. It's not difficult to find, and it's not particularly expensive, I don't think. It's a digital recording by Frank R. Dickinson, and it was engineered by Rick Picconen. Don't think I've said that correctly, but whatever. It's A&M Records. and it's just beautiful. It's they used a 32-track digital recording system, and in a church, I believe, in New York City. Yes, it was recorded in a church in New York City, and it's amazing. I mean, for a digital recording, you would never believe it. It is incredible. This is almost up with Dark Side of the Moon. In my categories, it's 9 and 9.5. It's almost there. It's not quite there because it's digital, and obviously Dark Side of the Moon is analog, and you can tell. But this is still very well worth. When you put this on your hi-fi system, you're going to enjoy listening to it, I tell you, because there's so much detail. Well worth a listen, well worth buying. Joe Jackson, Body and Soul. Okay, the last album that I'm going to tell you about is a record that's only been out a couple of years. And it's a lady called Freya Ridings. Now, many of you will not have heard of this young lady, but she has got the most beautiful voice. I don't quite know what genre this is, really. I suppose I'd put it in the same sort of league as London Grammar, and I can't think of anybody else. What I like about this record is, despite being only produced in 2019, so it's only 2 years old, they can make really fantastic albums. These record companies can make amazing albums if they want to. They don't have to be like Raising Sand with Robert Plant or the other Lana Del Rey's compressed, boring rubbish. I mean, this is incredible. It's a beautiful album. It's well recorded. It's sonically, it's up there with some of the best. I highly recommend this album. I really do. It is fantastic. I love it. Some of there is a particular track on this album that I highly recommend you listen to. It's called Holy Water. It's a little bit sort of I don't know. I suppose you could say. I don't know. I can't explain. Holy Water, I would definitely recommend. They're all good tracks. Every track on this album is incredible. If you put it on and walk out the room, you want to come back in. You have to come back in and listen to it. You can't go and do anything else. You've got to listen to it. Freya Ridings, and it's called Freya Ridings because that's her name. This is her first album. She's made another album as well, which I'll talk about at another time. But this is great. And the record label is Good Soldier, and it's a London-based record company that has got a number of new up-and-coming artists on it, and they all appear to be doing quite well. Birdie is one that is on the same label. I'm going to try and see if I can get hold of some of her albums. So yeah, so it's the Good Soldier record company, and it's highly recommended. Anyway, so there's a few records which I recommend you check out. It's up to you. I'm very keen for you to let me know what records you think I might like, because that's the whole point of it. We have to share experiences with each other. This is a really close community, and I want to develop this channel a bit more and get some good, plenty of fun out of this, but also some really nice music too. And anyway, so there you go. I'm over the moon with my new hi-fi system and my decorated room. You'll see in the top right hand of the screen a print which is back to back Pink Floyd. It's the girl sat by the swimming pool. That's a limited edition, and it's actually signed by the artist, who was Storm Thorgerson. So that takes pride and place on my wall by my hi-fi. And yeah, so everything's great. I'm happy. I hope you are too. Look after yourselves, stay safe, and I'll get another video up online in the not too distant future. Okay, ciao. Take care. God bless.